How's this for volume? You know, if I were Donald Trump standing up here before you, I would probably say you're going to hear a tremendous speech, because I'm a tremendous speech giver because I've got this huge brain. But I'm not Donald Trump. I'm Steve Larson. So what I'm going to do is try to give you some new information, maybe a different way of looking at things. I'm going to provide a little sarcasm, try to skewer some of the Republicans on the ticket, and there'll even be some audience participation. Now let's go over the easy stuff first. Let's do the ballot questions. Sometimes people get cute when they do ballot questions. You read it and you don't know what it's exactly about, or you get exactly the wrong idea. It's kind of like when it says chicken flavored, that means there's no chicken in it. This is the rights of electricity consumers regarding solar energy choice. It should be called no solar in the Sunshine State, because that's the intent. Now I'm not gonna read the whole thing here. Let's just go to the end of this paragraph. And to ensure that consumers who do not choose to install solar are not required to subsidize the costs of backup power and electrical grid access to those who do. Now that means if you want solar on your house, if this passes, you're going to pay more for it than regular electricity. Now who's behind this? This is Consumers for Smart Solar. That means it's Duke Energy, Florida Power and Light, and the Tampa Electric Company. Oh, and those two guys from Kansas, the Koch brothers, are involved in this one too. I kind of got a thing about the Koch brothers because I grew up 60 miles from where their corporate offices are, and they are happily working to destroy the climate of this planet that their grandchildren are going to live on, to make more billions of dollars they can't live long enough to spend. They are two disgusting people. Go to the Tampa Bay slide. Now this is what the Tampa Bay Tampa Bay Times said, and basically you can read it. We shouldn't be confronted with a sneak attack. This is a bad piece of legislation. We recommend you vote no on one. Now, use of medical marijuana. This is an interesting one. If you've ever seen someone go through chemotherapy with cancer and not be able to eat and think that this is bad legislation, I don't know what I don't think you've ever seen anybody like that. This allows medical use of marijuana for individuals with debilitating medical conditions as determined by a licensed Florida physician. And you can see the diseases up there it's intended to help. Marijuana helps all of these: cancer, glaucoma, AIDS, ALS, Parkinson's, epilepsy, HIV, PTSD, Crohn's disease, and MS. Marijuana provides help to those people that suffer from this. And it's supported by these organizations, including the Florida Democratic Party. Now, who's fighting it? People investing money on a vote no campaign for this are Big Pharma, because it's going to cut into their profits. Big Tobacco, it's going to cut into their profits. Private prisons, going to cut into their profits, less people in jail. And strangely enough, the Florida Sheriff's Association. Now, let me read you what one of the leaders of that association has said. Seizures from marijuana grow houses is a key revenue source. So once again, we've got organizations putting profits above people's pain and suffering. 77% of Floridians favor it. We recommend you vote for it. Now, 3, is a tax exemption for totally and permanently disabled first responders. This one is pretty easy. It amends the state constitution to authorize a first responder who is totally or permanently disabled as a result of injuries sustained in the line of duty to receive relief from ad valorem taxes. 100% of the Republicans and Democrats voted for it. We support it. Number 5 is much the same. It's a Florida property tax exemption for senior citizens amendment. And it is for basically a tax break for homes valued at less than $250,000 if you're over 65 and you've lived in the home for 25 years. Like the last one, this had 100% voting for it in the state and the House, and we recommend you also vote for it. So, in summary, it's no on one and yes on the rest for the ballot questions. Now let's talk about the platforms. How many people have gone on the web and actually read the Democratic and Republican platform? Not many. You probably didn't have trouble falling asleep. They're long documents. I went back to 1896 and the party platform was one page. They're not one page anymore. Now, I want to put this in context. When Barack Obama was first elected, he won by 9.5 million votes. In his second election, he won by 5 million votes. So when you hear the Republicans harp about taking the country back, they're taking it back from the majority of the people. Understand that. Now, when I was going through this party platform, I thought, what is the platform written for? Who is it written for? And it's written for the party's base. So I said, I better understand what the base looks like. So I went to the Pew Research Company. This is the Democratic base. African Americans, Asians, no religious affiliation, postgraduate women, the Jewish vote, Hispanic vote, although I don't understand why it's so close, the millennial generation, and college graduates. The base of the Democratic Party is diverse, it's young, and it's educated, and that is who the platform is written for. Now let's look at what's some of the highlights of the platform. It was signed on July 21st. I went and I pulled the major headings in the preamble and in the document out. It talks about raising incomes and restoring economic security for the middle class, fight for economic fairness and against inequality, protecting voting rights, fixing our campaign system, and restoring our democracy, combat climate change and build a clean energy economy, ensure the health and safety of all Americans. Next slide. Democrats believe that cooperation is better than conflict, unity is better than division, empowerment is better than resentment, and bridges are better than walls. Democrats believe we are stronger when we have an economy that works for everyone, an economy that grows income for working people, creates good-paying jobs, and puts the middle-class life within the reach of more Americans. Now, there's a saying I like, everybody does better when everybody does better. What I have not been able to figure out is why conservatives believe that letting rich people have all the money so they can stuff it in bank accounts in the Cayman Island and Switzerland is better than having it circulate in the United States and build prosperity for everyone. And I really know why they do it, but not a very good reason. Now, the top up there, those are my words, not I put them in. The Democratic platform recognizes America's problems, proposes solution, and lays out the plans. That's what you find when you look at the platform for the Democratic Party. The last paragraph of the preamble is important. Despite what some say, America is and always has been great, not because it's been perfect. What makes America great is our unerring belief that we can make it better. We can and we will build a more just economy, a more equal society, and a more perfect union, because we are stronger together. Now, I don't care if you're from the left side of the party or the right side of the party, the Democratic Party. If you read what is written in the platform, you will be proud of it, because it lays out a vision of building a better country. Now for a different vision. If you've never gone on YouTube and looked at a video of a Trump rally, then you're really missing something. So who exactly is the Republican base that they have written their platform for? Mormons, white evangelical Protestants, white Southerners, white men with high school or less, whites in general, for no apparent reason, and senior citizens, because, you know, we really don't like change all that much. We do like riding around our golf course, though. All right. Do you realize the average Fox viewer is 68 years old? This does not sound good for Fox News down the road. What the GOP knows, and knows very well, is that fear is the enemy of reason. And that's why, over the years, think back, it is a fear-mongering machine. Ebola, ISIS fighters coming over the border. Voting fraud is stealing our elections. Hillary wants to take your guns away and change the Second Amendment. Barack Obama's coming after your guns. There's even men in dresses going into women's bathrooms. That is what they do. They try to keep us afraid. Doesn't work on me, because I'm not afraid of Muslims and I'm not afraid of Mexicans, and I don't think prayer in school is going to fix all of America's problems. Let's go to the platform. The very first line of the preamble is, "We believe in American exceptionalism." They say, "We believe the Constitution was written not as a flexible document, but as an enduring covenant." Strict interpretation. "We believe political freedom and economic freedom are indivisible. We believe that people, not the government, are the best stewards of the country's God-given natural resources." The Koch brothers want to sell off the national parks because they're getting into mining in the West. "We seek friendship with all people and all nations, but we recognize and are prepared to deal with the evil in the world." Why do Republicans love that word so much? I don't know. "Our economy has become unnecessarily weak." Well, not my stock market, I'll tell you that. "Our standing in the world has declined significantly. Our enemies are no longer fear us, and our friends no longer trust us. The President and the Democratic Party have dismantled America's system of health care. They refuse to control our borders, but try to control our schools, farms, businesses, and even our religious institutions. The President has regulated to death the free market economy." This is all stuff in the preamble of their platform. That is why the many sections of this platform affirm our trust in the people, our faith in their judgment, and our determination to help them take back their country. You remember the context. Without going through the rest of these, understand that the conservative platform has 4 pillars, and it's had 4 pillars for the last 50 years. Lower taxes, deregulation, privatization, and eliminating the social safety net. Now they throw in some social issues for the Mormons and the evangelicals, abortion and gay marriage and the guys wearing dresses going into the women's bathroom. But everything else serves the purposes of the people who have purchased them. It serves the fraction of 1% that owns the country. Now, I like this cartoon. The elephant reminds me of all the Republican talking heads that were telling us that Trump couldn't possibly win the nomination. Look at the elephant. Now, I'm going to talk about the ticket now, but I'm not going to talk about what seriously stupid thing Trump has said in the last 24 hours, because there are some. I want to talk a little bit about what the job is. What does the president really do? Well, first and foremost, it's commander-in-chief of the most powerful military force the world has ever seen. And Congress, in its finite wisdom, has given the president the ability to act unilaterally. Do you realize the president can take us into a nuclear war by himself or herself? Scary. They're the spokesperson for the country, the largest military, the largest economy. When the president speaks, the world listens. Stock markets around the world can go up and down. Countries can change what they're doing. He's the CEO of America. The entire federal structure reports to the president. That's over 4 million civilian jobs, 1.5 million in uniform, and 60,000 in the judiciary. The next president will appoint 4,000 people to manage this business. They appoint the federal judges. Often that is the true legacy of a president. And the last but certainly not least, they set the nation's agenda. And when you have a climate change denier in the White House, I don't think we're going to make much progress there. Now, this is a rhetorical question. Does anybody here think that Donald Trump is capable of doing this job? No. This is what the Mayo Clinic says. A narcissistic personality disorder is a mental disorder in which people have an inflated self of their own, inflated sense of their own importance, a deep need for admiration, and a lack of empathy for others. But behind this mask of ultra-confidence lies a fragile self-esteem that's vulnerable to the slightest criticism. When Trump gets caught in a lie, he doubles down on the lie and he attacks. That's classic narcissist behavior, and he does that all the time. But then what did he do? He picked Mike Pence for his VP. Now, Mike Pence looks like a nice guy. He's got a nice wife, seems to have a nice daughter, got his tie pulled down a little bit, ordinary-looking guy, eating at Chili's. He probably didn't like what he ate because he didn't finish his salad, but looks okay. If Trump made Pence the same deal he made John Kasich, Pence is the person that's really going to be running the country. Trump wants to go out and make America great again, whatever the hell that means. The actual running of the country is going to be the job of the vice president. So exactly who is the vice president? He's pro-gun, he's anti-abortion, he's hostile to LGBT rights, he believes climate change is a hoax, he's anti-gay, he doesn't believe in evolution, he supports the Trans-Pacific Trade Agreement, he wants to cut taxes for the rich, and he's built his career on Koch brothers' money. He is a sock puppet for the Koch brothers. Now, I don't agree with Donald Trump on many things. In fact, almost nothing I agree with him on, but there are a couple. I think he's got some reasonable things to say. There's not a single thing I agree with Mike Pence about. That's scary. Now, this is the audience participation time. There's this movie, Meatballs. In fact, this is the first movie, well, where Bill Murray had a starring role. And there's a scene in Meatballs where he is giving a pep talk to the kids at his camp who are going to have a athletic competition with Camp Mohawk the next day. And Bill Murray says, it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Say it with me. It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Now, the reason I say that is because it just doesn't matter who the person who is running as a Republican. It really doesn't matter what kind of person they are, if they're married, if they've got two nice kids. It just doesn't matter if they go to the nursing home and see Granny twice a month, if they have a nice Cocker Spaniel and let him sleep with them in the bed. It just doesn't matter what they say. When they get to Washington, they are going to vote the way the Koch brothers tell them to, or their time there is going to be short and uneventful. It just doesn't matter. If they want to stay in Washington, they will do as they're told. And I said, I'm going to put that to the test. I'm going to see if I'm right here. So what I did was I went and I looked at the Congress, and I thought to myself, what is the one background that you could reliably predict how someone is going to vote? And that would be teaching. If you spent years or decades in the classroom, regardless of political affiliation, you would think that you would be pro-education. Well, there happens to be two Republicans that come out of the education background. So let's look at them. This guy, Rob Bishop, serving Utah's 1st Congressional District. Rob Bishop spent 28 years in the classroom. He taught history, government, German, and civics classes. You would think he would be pretty much pro-education. So how did he vote? He voted no on a $40 billion green public schools bill. He voted no on additional $10.2 billion for federal education and HHS projects. He voted no on $84 million in grants to Black and Hispanic colleges. The NEA gave him an F rating. Now, those were the education bills last year, and all I could find, and he voted no on every one of them. But he did introduce legislation to begin eliminating the national parks, and he strongly is supported by the Americans for Prosperity, which is the Koch's political wing, and he won his primary by 30 points. Then there's Virginia Fox. Now, Virginia Fox is a rags to riches story. She's the first person in her family to ever graduate from high school. She worked as a janitor in the high school she graduated from. In 1985, she got her PhD in education. She was the president of a community college before she turned into a politician. So how did she vote? She voted exactly the same way Rob did. And she was backed by the Americans for Prosperity, and she won her primary by 36 points. So, okay, what that shows right now is if you vote the right way, you get the support of the Koch brothers and the Americans for Prosperity, and you probably can win your primary. Now let's talk about Renee Elmers. Renee Elmers is not from education, she is from nursing. She made a mistake. She voted, there was a bill to prevent abortions after 20 weeks, and she voted against that. She voted to extend the Import-Export Bank, which the Koch brothers are against. So what happened to Renee Elmers? Americans for Prosperity spent $100,000 on ads. This started 4 weeks before the election. They sent 8 mailers to the voters. They launched digital ads on YouTube, Facebook, and Hulu. They knocked on 16,000 doors and made 180,000 phone calls. Renee Elmers lost by 30 points. So it just doesn't matter what kind of person you send to Washington if they're a Republican, because you're going to get the same result. So the point I'm trying to make, I guess, is if you vote for any Republican, you're supporting more tax cuts for the rich. You're supporting increasing income inequality. You're voting to cut food stamps. You're voting to cut housing assistance. You're voting to cut child nutrition programs. You want to cut Head Start if you vote for a Republican. You want to cut veterans benefits. You want to roll back those pesky clean air and water regulations. You want to deregulate the banks. You want to privatize Social Security and means test for Social Security. You want to raise the age for Medicare. You want to cut education funding, repeal Obamacare, defund Planned Parenthood, defund the EPA, and on and on and on and on. Well, the Republicans are big on pledges, so I've got a pledge too. I pledge to you that I will never, ever, under any circumstances, vote for another Republican in my lifetime. But I will always vote. Thank you.